Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well, hope you're all doing fantastic, and that you're all having an incredible day. For those of you looking to protect and secure your crypto, there are links in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So how do I break this to all of you? Remember like 3-4 weeks ago where like the world was panicking and everyone was like, oh no, what's about to happen? All these other things. I don't know why I'm making that voice, but like sometime in early August, well, like I said, I hate to be the bearer of good news. I don't know. The leading U.S. economic indicators are still pointing to a slowdown, but apparently are no longer signaling a recession. This is coming from data from the Conference Board, a nonpartisan and non-profit research organization. They showed this on Tuesday. Apparently, a surprise. So all the fears that we've been having about a recession have lightly been quelled, at least at the time of me making this video. In that, the assumption, for those of you who've been missing out, is that still, if you missed that video, this was maybe 4, 5, 6 days ago, somewhere around there, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, UBS, not Bank of America, there were two other banks, all on the exact same day came out and said that they believe that the Fed is going to lower interest rates at least twice and maybe thrice over the course of this year. That is to say mid-September, November, and there's also a bank calling for a December rate cut as well. We are getting indications that the Fed might do at least one. We don't know. We've heard speculation. We've seen markets moving based off of words that they said at that conference in Jackson. I won't say that place has a weird name. And yeah, so now, because of the optimism of what the Fed might do, the news that Japan is not going to be moving their interest rates, at least for the rest of this year, because that was thrown out as the reason as to why the market was collapsing. If they lower interest rates, inflation will rise. However, debt levels, rather taking out debt, will go down, and all assets will move up accordingly as well. That's kind of the big news, the big shebang, is that things might not be as bad as people expected that they were going to be, and that we might not have a full-blown recession or depression, and might simply have a heavy economic slowdown if everything ends up working out as we assume that they're going to right now. It said that's a positive sign for risk assets, including cryptocurrencies. The organization's leading economic indicators, or the LEI, declined by 0.6% in July to 100.4, following June's 0.2% drop. The measure peaked in the second quarter of 2022 and has been falling ever since, according to data source Macro. The leading economic indicators comprises several forward-looking indicators such as average weekly hours in manufacturing, average weekly initial claims for jobless insurance, ISM new orders index, stock prices, and leading credit index. It's a very long article. I'm not going to read the entire thing. You get it. So, cool. I hope it works out. We were riding a pretty okay wave until August, when everything like kind of hit the fan and we were told to just completely panic. If the Fed lowers interest rates once, we're going to have a crazy bull run. If they lower interest rates twice, markets are about to go completely insane. I feel like they're not going to lower them 3 times. If they don't lower them at all, prepare for August 2.0 because everyone's basically waiting for this one thing to actually happen. So, a lot of the doom and gloom news that was there before has more or less disappeared. It looks like things might not be as bad. The main thing I'm looking for, personally, is hearing that companies are actually hiring again. That's a major thing that I think that we keep getting lied to about, as far as like 80,000 people lose their jobs in 30 minutes and they're like, oh, jobs are doing great today. And I need people to get their jobs back and also have that money rolling on back in. That's a mega sign of improvement. That's the U.S. recession. Might not happen at all. I mean, we have a couple more months left. Don't get your hopes up. And yeah, let's move on. Also in popular news, Arkham Intelligence has recently reported that Galaxy Digital has expanded their Bitcoin holdings by acquiring 400 Bitcoin, valued at $23.4 million US. This transaction was confirmed through an on-chain analysis report, emphasizing the company's strategic shift towards accumulating more Bitcoin amidst a volatile market. I will say, it is a bit creepy when you can't really do anything because people are looking at everything that you do on chain. This is, tell me if anyone else feels the same. Because I told you before in another video, this was a couple days ago, Vitalik Buterin always receives a lot of meme coins to his Ethereum address. So what he tends to do is he swaps those meme coins into Ether. The problem is that when he sells that Ether, or when he donates it, which is what he typically does, the market usually has a bad day. Why did Vitalik Buterin sell 300 Ether? And part of me wonders about the future of the cryptocurrency space. What happens if these companies are simply moving around their coins? Or Vitalik Buterin or someone else is literally I want to donate to this, and they sell Ether at a higher price. You understand what I mean? It's really weird. So anyway, Galaxy Digital is not known for their Bitcoin purchases. That's more MicroStrategy. And then the news, Metaplanet, the other company from Japan who's constantly in the news now. Whenever they buy 50, 57, 62 Bitcoin, whatever the number might actually be. So Galaxy Digital actually being in the news is cool, you guys have a lot of money. That's why you bought a lot of Bitcoin. The other weird part is that this news was found by an on-chain analytics company who thought it was their job to tell the public that this company had purchased more before the company had even decided to make that information public. Imagine every time that you bought anything online, someone tracked and traced you and then wrote a tweet about it. It'd be a little weird. So, cool. Yeah, the Bitcoin buying continues. I doubt it's ever going to stop. Keep in mind that we are on track for a $120,000, $150,000 Bitcoin. So saith the analysts, and therefore people are going to continue buying at a much lower price because they see profits in front of them. That's the Galaxy Digital, bought $23.4 million worth of Bitcoin. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, BlackRock has passed by Grayscale in total assets under management for digital exchange traded funds. Despite offering only 2 funds, their Bitcoin ETF and their Ethereum ETF, BlackRock's combined assets under management have reached 21.6 billion US dollars. This figure slightly surpasses the 21.3 billion managed by Grayscale. Grayscale has a lot more than these 4 funds. They have like 16 different funds. This is why they became popular. About 4 or 5 years ago, they basically had a fund for like the top 15 coins. Even though some of the allocation was literally like $500,000, that's not a joke. This is why they became quite popular. Yes, BlackRock continues their dominant stance in the market. I am flabbergasted as to how anyone is still doing business with Grayscale. That's not a joke, because Grayscale's main Bitcoin trust still has 2.5% fees, while everyone else in the industry has 0.5 and or lower. So yeah, it was bound to happen. Didn't take that long. I mean, it still has not been an entire year that we've had the Bitcoin ETFs. And BlackRock is also BlackRock. So I just assumed that this would have happened back in April, if we can be completely honest. And then they talk about Morgan Stanley. Last week confirmed that it reduced almost all of its $269 million exposure to Grayscale and owns 5.5 million shares now in BlackRock's IBIT instead. Yeah, just makes a lot of sense. This was also, I don't know why. Like, I get it, but I also, this was also very popular news. I'm not sure if it's the negative viewpoint that a lot of people have for Grayscale. Grayscale is the reason why we went down in price earlier this year. Remember when we first got the ETFs and prices were dropping? The reason why we dropped, we now know, is because people were basically leaving from Grayscale's ETF, taking their money out of it and placing it in other funds or wherever they might have been doing with their money because of their 2.5% fee. So this is why we saw billions of dollars leaving their funds, and the outflows were outpacing the inflows. That's why people also celebrated when they had kind of stopped selling, or people were not selling anymore on their behalf. And yeah, so, I mean, the ETFs will continue to grow. It's just more of a, let's hope they grow in the right direction. I still don't understand. I'm telling you, someone must have told Grayscale, like, no, these are like, this is what your percentage is going to be, and you can't change it, because no company, if you saw billions of dollars leaving your company every single morning, you would do something to stop it. But they did nothing. That's the BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF and Ethereum ETF have passed by Grayscale. I only assume this is going to happen more and more. And yeah, let's move on. Also in the news, I don't know why this was news. South Korea's National Pension Fund, the NPS, purchased MicroStrategy shares worth $34 million in the second quarter of 2024. Everyone is writing what this article has written. This move is considered an indirect investment in Bitcoin, since the company is one of the largest Bitcoin holders. That's correct and incorrect. So we've been getting a lot of MicroStrategy news. For those of you who missed it, MicroStrategy owns a lot of Bitcoin. Crazy, right? Yeah. The other part is that the company is continuously taking out debt amongst them, against themselves, in order to buy more Bitcoin. And for some reason, a lot of companies, and I guess also this national pension fund, has also purchased a large amount of their shares. So it's kind of similar. No. This is exactly what this is. Remember earlier in the year and all of last year, Cathie Wood was constantly in the cryptocurrency news. For those of you who weren't here, Cathie Wood is just a woman who is always investing mainly in crypto-related stocks. It's kind of her thing. So every time this woman bought any Coinbase stock or MicroStrategy stock, those stocks would go up, and sometimes Bitcoin price would also go up. Why? Because every article was announcing that she was indirectly investing in Bitcoin. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works at all. If you like, long story short, people assume that anyone or anything that is close to or touching Bitcoin has some kind of extra value. So them purchasing, so for those of you who, and this is one of those, please to all of you read more and learn how the world works. National pension funds tend to have hundreds of billions and in some cases trillions of dollars. The way that it usually ends up working is, now here's a big one, is that a lot of time they use kind of like AI and or kind of, I mean, you can call it this, like a robo investing kind of thing, where basically the AI will kind of allocate money into tons of different places that it thinks are relatively safe and or not as safe, and it won't allocate as much money into them, i.e., the national fund having, $700 billion, random number, will allocate from that 1 billion. They'll buy 1,000 different stocks just for 1 billion of the allocation. They'll put 3 billion into something else, 5 billion into something else, and they keep doing this over and over and over. It just so happens that this mechanism happened to decide to also acquire some shares of MicroStrategy. Not that it's a bad thing, but people stretch it too far. I saw a dog walking down the street and he had a collar. His owner looked like someone who had a golden face. And therefore, I assume if you think of Bitcoin as digital gold, because it's 2024, they must also own Bitcoin, which tells me that their family does. And it's like, cool it. If we had heard that the country had invested in Bitcoin ETFs or in physical Bitcoin in some sort of way, I'll give you a thumbs up. But MicroStrategy, that's like saying they invested in Coinbase, they're investing in Bitcoin. Oh my gosh. All I had to do was scroll down. Am I psychic? I feel like I'm psychic. The fund also holds Coinbase shares valued at over $45 million. I'm pretty sure I'm psychic. Bitcoin's going to $9 million and Ethereum is going to $75,000 in 16 and a half weeks. I'm sorry. Like this, my powers are just working. Anywho, this was quite popular news. $34 million in MicroStrategy shares. Fantastic. Can't believe it. Wow. Awesome. Yeah. When you have a lot of money, you allocate your money in tons of different places. And this feels like just one of those mementos. That's the National Pension Service of South Korea. Owns MicroStrategy stock. Man, yeah. Let's move on. This is also the same, but a little bit cooler. The Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund is holding Bitcoin. This one is actually true. The Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund currently has 2,444 Bitcoin, an increase from 938 Bitcoin from the end of December of last year. The craziest part? This was actually purchased with AI. Speaking about this, the senior analyst of K33 Research tweeted, "The growth likely originates from predetermined algorithm-based sector weighing and risk diversification. It's unlikely that this stems from an intentional choice to amass exposure. If increased Bitcoin exposure was the target, we'd have seen more evidence of direct exposure initiatives and significantly larger exposure. If a human had done this, it would have been more deliberate and would have been more timed. Once a month, once a month, once a month, once a month, once a month." This was simply one purchase that happens once again, for those of you who do not know, people who are wealthy have people invest for them. They're called wealth managers, and it extends in as many different directions as you can possibly begin to imagine. When you are dealing in billions and billions and billions of dollars, and also I need to preface that by saying a lot of people do not know that the world has basically been running on algorithms since like 2002, 2003 or something like that. For those of you who don't know the most popular one, it's called Aladdin. Yeah, you can Google it. Aladdin is the AI from BlackRock that was created in the 80s. It was terrible in the 80s. It was worked on in the 90s, and it's basically what made BlackRock into trillionaires, or having trillions of dollars in assets under management. You can actually use Aladdin yourself. It costs an egregious amount of money, but companies around the world do choose to use Aladdin from BlackRock, and countries do as well. Remember, for those of you who forgot, remember when I told you about the shift in companies who are like buying up tons of real estate? You notice how like it changed around 2020, 2021, where like we were getting all this news about like corporate landlords and like this being bought up and single family homes and that kind of thing. You know where that information came from? It was AI. AI told the people who are using it and paying for its assistance, start shifting your money into real estate. It tells you where investment trends are going, and it helps you allocate a huge amount of money into that sector. Yeah, I'm telling you, look it up. It's really, really crazy. I'm certain if people on the planet actually understood how the world was run, I think you'd have a very different perspective on a lot of things happening in the world. Yeah, countries also allocate a large amount of money to these systems and to AI. It's the same exact thing, like I said before, with like a robo-investor. You have these things where basically it figures out the trends and it basically tells your money where to go. Have you ever, so this was also a topic years ago. One of the really fascinating things about finance now is that nearly none of it is done by a human. So you know how like you don't see those people anymore like screaming on the floors in Wall Street, oh, buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell. What terrible voice. But those like kind of things like where they're buying and selling back and forth. The idea is that these people are home now. Got it. But what people also usually don't mention is that a lot of these people are using some form of AI. And it's a very powerful form of AI wherein, let's say, I'll put it to you this way. Let's say there's 100 million people in Bitcoin. But let's say on any given day, 15 to 20 million people are active. The other 80 put some money into the market. They kind of walked away. They have auto buys going on. They're not really paying attention. But you have 20 million people out of 8 billion people who are actively paying attention. What ends up happening is, as a larger firm, as a larger company, the AI scours, looks desperately for any new news about the cryptocurrency space. It's constantly reading. And the issue is that if an article comes out and the article is very long and it takes about 15 minutes for the average human being to read, the AI reads it in about a second, if not less. So the problem is that as you're reading an article trying to figure out what to do with your money, and you read another article to see if the article, like the first one that you read, was actually true. You message your friends, but you slowly begin to panic, trying to figure out what's going on. You've wasted around 33 minutes of time while the AI, in a second and a half, has read the article and multiple articles as well, gathered all the data, and then basically performed the trade before you even had a chance. That's the way that finance works now. This is why things collapse so suddenly. Have you ever heard me say before, I was like, doesn't it seem a little weird that prices drop? I'm alluding to the fact that like humans around the world aren't collectively all looking at and reading the news at once and then all coming to the exact same conclusion. What's happening is that the AI from these different companies and these institutions gathered all the data really quick and all came to the exact same conclusion that they had to sell off some of their position for prices to go down. You can even make the AI basically like kind of push people out of the market. If it goes down a certain percentage without having to sell the complete position of the company, Other people in the news will then begin to write and talk about how scary and terrible and horrible everything is. This causes other people who are reading the articles to also get afraid. Over the course of 6 hours, they begin to sell off their positions. And then what happens? The whales buy those coins once again, and then prices go back up. Once again, I think if the average person really understood how finance works right now, we'd be on a completely different planet, because literally nothing is as it seems. Rich people control, I want to use the word, everything. Yeah, so this was also quite popular news. This and oddly enough, this was not as popular as the South Korean news. South Korean's pension fund, probably also with AI, purchased MicroStrategy. That news went through the roof. But the Norwegian sovereign, and even crazier, do any of you remember, this is also news from, I think, 2018, 2019. We had news that there were, I think, 3 Nordic countries who already had exposure to Bitcoin back in 2018 and 2019. One of them has an oil fund, like a petrol fund. And that fund was also part of the actual thing for the country, and it was already buying Bitcoin back then. Also, do people not like Nordic countries? I'm not understanding. This news is far more impactful than MicroStrategy or Coinbase. Who cares? I'm asking you, do you care more about a country buying Coinbase or buying Bitcoin? It doesn't, but also backing it up. Countries buying Bitcoin news has never been popular. Countries buying XRP news has also never been popular. Why is it that when you hear or get actual news about like crypto taking over the world, do people care more about like the stupid stuff? There was something recently in the news where Elon Musk, what was it? Elon Musk wrote something along the lines of like Doge ambassador. I forgot what it was, something weird on Twitter. He's always writing weird stuff. And Dogecoin's price went up. Like everyone got really excited. But I'm certain if the community heard that the Swedish sovereign wealth fund had bought like $3 million worth of Dogecoin, the price would have probably gone down that day. Is there a reason why people don't like countries buying crypto news, but the popular news ends up being that Metaplanet, Metaface, what's that country, that company in Japan called Metaplanet, when they buy 50 Bitcoin, it's like 9 websites are covering it, talking about how incredible it is. Anywho, Norway is currently holding 2,446 Bitcoin. Right. Is the AI also trading against that to make you think it's not relevant and or popular? You realize that we've won already, right? Like I'm talking to you, like you realize that we've won. There was nothing like this years ago. Any discussion of a country buying Bitcoin was out of the realm of possibility. I was more likely to grow wings and fly towards the sun and bring back cheeseburgers. And now we're constantly hearing, like, this is just another one that's actually like even there. Even when we heard before years ago about the countries who are using Bitcoin back and forth for trade, also wasn't popular news. You realize them having any exposure to any means that like we're like in a very good position to like literally take over the world. That like we're in the right market, like we're doing what's correct. Anywho, yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video. I mean, listen, I really hope that that the majority of you get it. We had a conversation before. I'm certain that 97% of people, 97% of my followers and watchers and subscribers, I'm certain you get this news. You look at the price, it went down by 2%, and you go, I guess it didn't work. And it's like, do you understand the words like there's not a lot of Bitcoin? That there's not a lot of Bitcoin for you specifically? Like, do you understand what those words mean? If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, the exposure from these countries is going to increase. Like they have hundreds of billions of dollars. Like they'll keep allocating more. It's not really that much of a problem for them because they have money. You can't go out and buy $1 million Bitcoin. If Bitcoin hits $24 million, you're going to sit there and be like, oh my gosh, wait, a country bought it? I thought he said a company tree. Like what is... Anyway, for those of you paying attention, high five, golf clap to everyone, because these low prices aren't going to last forever. And I think people keep thinking that they are. And also the other people, remember, don't forget all the people who keep wanting prices to go lower and no, I have to buy more. It's like I know, I see your comments and I've seen them for years. You had a good 6 years. So I hope everyone is filled up. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Let's see if no more recession, ? I don't know. Thank you all once again, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.